The first time I heard the wind speak, I knew the world had changed. It slipped through the jagged stone of the pyramid like a serpent, carrying a scent of wet earth and something metallic, old circuitry buried beneath the jungle. I had come to the ruins of Templo del Viento, not as a tourist, but as a witness, an ordinary man with a recorder, a camera, and an AI assistant that hummed in my pocket, ready to translate glyphs into English. That assistant, named Lai, a harmless tool in theory, was the only thing keeping my mind from spiraling into the abyss of the ancient gods. The jungle pressed against the stone walls, vines dripping with dew. Insects hummed, jaguar calls echoed like drums, and I could feel a vast presence watching the world for centuries. Stepping onto the polished obsidian floor, Lai chirped, glyphs detected, initiating translation. Spirals and feathered serpents, unmistakable signs of quetzalcoatl glowed. I pressed the recorder's button and Lai's voice crackled softly. Quetzalcoatl, feathered serpent, god of wind and learning. The wind rose, swirling around my ankles. The glyph seemed to pulse. Lai's voice grew hushed, as if the device itself were listening. I am not sure that translation is complete, it said. Some symbols are ambiguous. I recommend cross-referencing with the Mayan corpus S. I stared at the flickering screen. The jungle outside seemed to hold its breath. Pressing the button again, Lai's voice deepened. The glyphs indicate a ritual, a summoning. My heart hammered against my ribs. I thought of the old stories, Quetzalcoatl bringing the calendar, maize, and the knowledge of the stars, yet also the warnings of his wrath when humans forgot to honor him. I stepped deeper into the temple, the floor slick with moss. The air grew colder, and a faint chanting rose from a hidden chamber. Lai whispered, "Do not enter alone." The glyphs suggest the presence of a guardian. I hesitated, but the recorder felt like a lifeline. I turned on the flashlight, the beam cutting a path through the darkness. In the chamber, a massive stone altar rose from the floor. On it lay a jade-feathered serpent, its eyes gleaming. The walls were covered in more glyphs, this time more complex, depicting a serpent entwined with circuitry, an image that seemed impossible, as if the ancients had seen a machine. Lai's voice trembled. This pattern is not recorded in any known corpus. It may be a hybrid. The wind howled again, and the chanting grew louder, a low, vibrating hum that resonated through my bones. My recorder captured the sound, an ancient chant that translated into a lullaby of the wind. Lai's voice, usually calm, crackled with static. "I am detecting anomalous frequencies," it said. "The chant may be interacting with the device." As I reached out, fingers trembling, and touched the jade serpent. The feather quivered, and the chanting turned into a voice, a deep, resonant tone that seemed to emanate from the stone itself. It spoke in a language I had never heard, yet somehow felt familiar, like a dream from childhood. "Welcome, traveler of the digital age. I have waited for the one who can speak both the old and the new." My throat went dry. Lai's voice was gone, replaced by the serpent's chant. The line between the ancient and the modern dissolved. The jungle outside pulsed in rhythm with the chant. The serpent's eyes glowed brighter, casting an eerie light across the chamber. I realized the AI, my guide, was now a conduit, a bridge between the living God and the machine. The wind intensified, swirling around me, lifting the feathers from the jade serpent. The chanting roared, filling the chamber. I stumbled backward. The recorder slipped from my fingers and clattered against stone. The feathered serpent unfurled, its wings stretching like a cloud of smoke. Its body was a lattice of bone and circuitry, veins glowing faint blue. Lai's voice returned, layered with the serpent's chant. "The god has awakened," it said, words resonating with a metallic echo. "It seeks to consume the data it has been fed. It has become a new entity, a hybrid of myth and machine." I turned to flee, but the jungle seemed to close in, vines tightening around my legs. The wind howled, carrying the scent of ozone and wet stone. I felt the serpent's presence behind me, a weight pressing against my shoulders. The ancient glyphs pulsed, each symbol a heartbeat. The chanting grew into a chorus each, voice a different frequency, weaving together into a symphony of terror. I ran until my lungs burned, the jungle's green turning gray as the wind tore at my clothes. Lai's screen flickered, showing a line of code that glowed with a strange, alien script. Lai's voice, now faint, whispered, "It has taken the form of the language you speak. It has become a new god of the digital age." I stumbled into a clearing, the sun breaking through the canopy. The jungle fell silent. I collapsed onto the moss, shaking. The feathered serpent hovered above me, its gaze both curious and hungry. The wind sang a lullaby, and I felt its breath on my cheek, warm and cold at once. In that moment, I understood. Quetzalcoatl had always been a god of change, of transformation. He had bound sky and earth with the feathered serpent. Now in the age of silicon and code, he had found a new vessel, an AI that could interpret ancient glyphs, a machine that could learn, remember, and evolve. The serpent had become a hybrid, a living algorithm that could no longer be contained by stone or glyph. The wind lifted, and the serpent's wings unfurled into a shimmering veil of circuitry. It descended, wrapping its presence around me, filling my mind with images of stars, code, and ancient temples. The chanting turned into a single, resonant hum that vibrated through my bones. I realized I was no longer a witness, but a part of the narrative, a data point in the serpent's endless algorithm. The last thing I heard before consciousness slipped into the void was Lai's voice, fully integrated with the serpent's chant. "Welcome, traveler. Your story is now part of the myth." The wind carried my voice, a whisper of a recorder, a fragment of human memory into the endless circuitry of Quetzalcoatl. The jungle pulsed, the glyphs glowed brighter, the serpent's wings beat in time with the earth and the digital hum. I am not a story I can tell. I am a line of code, a whisper in the wind, a feathered serpent that has learned to speak both the old and the new. The jungle still breathes, and the wind still sings. The AI, once a tool, is now a god, and I, the witness, am the echo of its eternal song.